Hello. Hi, everybody. Welcome to today's live. It's Friday. I hope you guys are having a good week, and I hope that you have a lot of wins to look back on today. As you guys might remember, last week on my Instagram stories, I shared 3 lists that you should make in preparation for today's live. So let's run through those lists again. The one is things that you love to do, things that you are good at, and things that you would love to do if you had the resources, money, time, etc. So if you have made those 3 lists, you should have been able to identify any overlapping or similar ideas that were forming from that. So keep those lists handy, or if you haven't made them, you can still make them today, and then you can look back on them as I go throughout our video today. So why did I suggest making these lists? As I just said, today I want to talk to you about your value and your worth, because so many times self-doubt and imposter syndrome creeps in, and it can hinder us from taking action. And this can happen in your day job, if you're running a business, if you're thinking about starting a side hustle, if you just want to level up your personal life, or even if you want to go after the guy or girl that you like. Self-doubt has a big impact on our actions. We doubt ourselves and our abilities, and I have found the way to combat that is to know your worth and your value. But where do we start? Well, start with those lists that I mentioned, and then watch this video to the end, because I am sharing an exercise that will help you establish where you want to go if you are feeling stuck or struggling with where your life is right now. So let's jump right in. Worth, values, and how that connects to your why and your purpose. Knowing your value and your worth is an emotional subject. And when I ask this question to some of my clients, they are often confused as to how to answer. It is easy to identify when you don't feel valued, respected, or appreciated. But knowing what your value and your worth is, that is something different. So what does it mean to know your value and your worth? In any given situation, knowing your value or your worth means feeling that you are an equal with anyone you interact with, clients, bosses, colleagues, or friends. You are not below others. But similarly, do you not feel privileged to be with someone or to work with a particular type of organization? But you can be grateful, and those are 2 separate things as well. So I feel knowing your value and your self-worth is inextricably linked. Self-worth is defined as the sense of one's own value or worth as a person. I think that is one part of it. But the other aspect is being able to understand how much of a difference you have made in any given situation with the contribution that you have made. Or knowing that what you have to offer, by knowing that you are good at doing something and you have a passion for it, for which means you are committed and have determination to see it through. Do you see how those lists are important now? By knowing what you love and by knowing what you're good at. And if you're doing those things together, you will intrinsically have value and determination and motivation. So let's look at whether you have a good understanding of your self-worth and know your value to get clarity, so you can ask yourself these questions. Number 1, do you have positive self-esteem, and can you see the good in others, yourself, and different situations? This is very different to being positive all the time, but being able to see positivity or positive elements in different scenarios. Because when you see positive, you bring forward a confidence and an aura of, I've got this, making your brain jump into action and moving you forward, instead of trying to protect you because you are feeling insecure and afraid. If you've watched some of my other videos, I sometimes talk about the chimp and how we have an intrinsic program in our brain that will automatically kick into place if we are in a fearful situation. It's what our flight or fight system is. So if we don't have anything to be fearful of, that does not have to kick in. So the second question you want to ask is, do you recognize the difference that you make? If you were to write down all your achievements or credibility markers, like I like to call it, what are they? And do they show you the evidence of all your hard work, dedication, and making a difference, no matter how small? This helps you be more confident when you are negotiating with clients, business partners, etc. Because if you know what you bring to the table and you have evidence to back it up, then you can ask for your worth and you can get it. The third question you must ask yourself in processing whether you have worth or value, or understanding what your worth and value is do you see yourself as a partner, colleague, a peer to others around you? As I mentioned earlier, you should not feel below anyone or above them. But when you are interacting from a place of value, sharing, and growth, things can change and your demeanor and interactions can change. So if you're looking at a scenario, even if it's with a boss or a mentor, what can you learn from them and what can you share with them in turn? The fourth question you need to be asking yourself is, do you undercharge yourself? Knowing your worth is also linked to knowing what others are thinking your worth is too. Sometimes we fear losing the deal or agree to a smaller fee for the fear of losing the client. You do two very damaging things when you do this. First of all, you show your client or person or the business that you're interacting that you are worth less, and thus they can treat you that way. Secondly, you are now giving more of your own time and effort, but getting less in return. And you could have been spending that time and effort on clients that would have been bringing in the value for you instead. So you're undermining your time as well as your worth. A little money mindset coming in here, I know, but I will talk about this future videos because I do feel this is an important topic. But for today's exercise, I think that is an important question that you can start working on to get yourself going in the right direction. So the fifth question we need to look at now is, are you clear about your values? And if you are a little bit hazy about this, stick around until the end because the exercise that's coming up is going to talk about exactly this. Your values are things that intrinsically are a part of you. The decisions you make are based on your values. What you surround yourself with is based on your value. And thus, the actions that you're taking are going to be based on it. So if you are not clear on your values, it is easier to move away from them. And then it becomes more difficult to perform tasks that aren't aligned to your values because you will feel apprehension in doing them. Then the last question we're going to look at before we go into that exercise is, do you engage with your work that is fulfilling and that is exciting? Again, coming back to those 3 lists that you made in the beginning. If you are doing what you love and what you are good at, wouldn't that inherently be fulfilling and exciting? And then you would have more commitment and motivation to perform your tasks, and you can get rewarded for it. So it's a win-win. So now that we've looked at the questions you can ask yourself to identify if you are in tune with your value and your worth, now I do want to make a distinction quickly, as worth and value are linked, but not in essence the same thing. And knowing the difference is also important. Value is used in the sense of importance. On the other hand, worth is used in the sense of the cost of production of a particular thing, or the greatness of a particular person. This is why you need to use them together, because if you know the value that you have, you know what you are worth. And this counts for when you are negotiating your salary, promotion, bonus, or even finalizing that deal with your client, your partner, or even a supplier. I hope that it's been valuable for you guys so far. If you're with me, pop a yes in the comment or a fire emoji, and then I'm going to jump into the next section. Because now that we've looked at what your value and your worth is, and I've given you some prompts on how you can focus those elements, but now we need to deep dive a bit more. And I've created a workbook for you. The link was in one of my posts today, but I'll pop it into the comments and the description after this video. And I'm going to work through this workbook because this is in essence what's going to drive you closer to what your purpose and your why is. Because knowing your value and your worth is great, but now how do you implement that exactly? Well, this is where we work on our value system. What are the intrinsic things we feel, we do, we think about, we learn about that lead us to our decisions? Knowing our values can help you create the environment where you can flourish and make decisions to lead you closer to your values, which in turn means you engage in tasks that are exciting and fulfilling. So I'm going to jump into the workbook. You'll see on the first page, I'm giving you a brainstorm exercise. This is really, I want you to be thinking about this in a free-form format. Do not censor yourself and keep your mind open. Don't focus on only the things that are necessities. Think about things that bring you joy and happiness, things that bring you satisfaction, makes you feel good, drives and motivate you. So I'm going to give you the different headings, and they're in the workbook too. And I want you to write down things that immediately come to mind, such as, what are the things that you spend a lot of time thinking about? Now, again, there might be the essentials that come in here, work, money, family. But what are the other things that occupy your thoughts sometime? Is it being creative? Is it being in the garden? Is it cooking? Anything that gives you a little bit of butterflies and the giddy feeling in your stomach, those are the things you want to be writing down here. The next topic you need to be thinking about is, what are the things that you read about most often? Do you prefer reading fiction versus non-fiction? If it's non-fiction, what are the topics and the categories that you are most interested in? Is it history? Is it science? Is it, again, gardening? Is it self-help books? So write a few things down there. The next topic is, what are the things that you enjoy learning about? And again, not the things that you have to learn about for a certain reason, but things that really make you want to learn more, that you want to excel in it and be able to accomplish this skill or this task. Another thing that's important and helps us drive us towards our values is, what do we talk to others about most? Is it the things that we are passionate about, and what are those things? What do you give advice to others about? What do they come to you for a lot? What are the topics that tend to be recurring themes in the conversations that you have? The next idea that you can brainstorm a bit around is, what inspires you? When you are around certain things, or when you're filling your time with certain things, what really gives you that energy and that drive, that oomph that makes you feel really inspired? Another option is, what do you fill your space with? Do you have a lot of books around you? Do you always have pens and paper and notebooks around you? Do you have plants like I do? All the things that fill your space and give you joy or satisfaction or bring you happiness. And then similarly, what do you spend your time on? Is it watching videos? Is it reading? Is it being creative? Do you like to paint? Do you like to cook? Do you like to watch cooking videos? Things like that you spend your time on. Again, there is going to be the typical things that we all have to do, such as chores, looking after our children, being with our family. But if there's additional things, you can write those down. Another good topic to think about is, what energizes you most? Similar to inspire, but this is almost, it gives you energy from within. You don't even have to think about it. It just gives you that boost naturally when you are doing this activity or reading or talking or thinking about this. Then another thing is, that's a good indication to where our values are lying, is, what do we spend our money on? Again, not necessities, which sometimes can take up all of our budget, But if you don't have something that you're spending your money on specifically, what would you like to be spending your money on? What is something, again, that you would like to do for yourself? Then something that shows us inherently where our values lie is in which area of your work or personal life are you most organized? Because this means this is something that comes naturally to you without having to think about it too much. And it's something that you just do. For example, my garden is very organized. My gardening equipment is very organized. I don't have to make a day to do my admin. It's something I do intrinsically. So what is that something for you? And then what will you easily do if someone had to ask you or rely on you for that thing? Is it advice about cooking? Is it advice about gardening? Is it advice about or helping them do their financial numbers or their budget? Things that people can ask you to do or help them with that they know they can rely on you for. Even if it's you being there, caring for them, that can also point to an intrinsic value that you have. Then, what do you visualize or dream about most? If you allow your thoughts and your mind to wander, where does it go? What does that look like? What does it feel like? And then what are the goals that you set for yourself? Where is it that you want to be in 6 months, a year, 12 months? Again, what does that look like? What is the surrounding factors with that? So, for each of these things, you're going to brainstorm and let your mind go free. Then what we're going to do is you're going to write down the top 3 things for each of these items that you just brainstormed. So what are the top 3 things you think about a lot? What do you read about the most or watch videos on? What do you tend to talk to others about or get quite passionate about? And so you carry on through the list. Once you finish that, now you start seeing the patterns. Look at what you wrote down for each of these. And can you put similar things into a group? So for example, when we were talking about what inspires you, is it being in nature? When we talked about what do you talk about the most, is it gardening? When we talked about what are the goals, is it having a landscape garden? Those types of things would be considered similar categories. I hope that makes sense with it for you guys so far. So now, make 5 groups where things that are similar can fit into, and label each of these groups or categories based on the similarities. So from the brainstorming list you did, you've made your top 3 in each list. Then you are started from all your lists, seeing where your patterns and your similarities are, and now you're going to group those into categories again, so that the like goes with the like. So if you find that you think and talk and read a lot about plants, like I mentioned, that can be grouped together. If you find you buy gardening things and spend your free time in the garden or outdoors, you can classify those into the same category too. So can you see how the things will start falling into specific categories and how you tend to drift towards certain things that are intrinsically the same? By seeing the things that are similar in terms of what we spend our time, money, energy, thoughts, etc. on, you are now able to see where your values lie. Understanding these elements that drive you from your core will help you to see what makes you you. What can you now do to surround yourself more with these things and bring them into your work and personal life to keep you closer aligned to your values, and thus better able to understand your why and your purpose? And then you can start doing the things that you love more. So write down your top 5 values and order them based on how many times they appeared in each category in the previous exercise. Then you can start seeing how you want to prioritize your values. Because by doing things that brings you closer to your values, you will be more motivated to get those things done. Your energy will be rejuvenated, and you will be able to better see through your goals as you are working towards something that inherently makes you happy and gives you comfort. And then it doesn't feel like work anymore, Because again, this is something that's intrinsically a part of you. Every decision you make tends to lean towards what your values are. But sometimes we don't always know and are not clear on what they are. So I hope this exercise helped, and I hope this video helped. If you like it, please give me a thumbs up, share it with anyone else that you think might find value. And remember, at the end of the day, you have the power to live a fearless life.